Howdy, folks. Welcome to another day in the Milky Way. And today is, what is today? Friday? Saturday?
No, it's Sunday.
Sunday, yeah. Never miss a Sunday show. I'm all to pieces over here. I told, before we came on, I told Trina, I'd posted on Facebook. I'm a huge Widespread Panic fan, and they did their show today that was back in 1998, was a album release party that I was at, and it was 250,000 people there, and they showed that concert tonight, so it brought back some old memories. So I've been dancing for about an hour and a half, so I'm tired. But
I know, right? I'm like, how are you? He goes, I'm tired. I was like, why? He's like, I've been dancing. I was like, oh, right on. That's awesome.
it felt good. Like I said, it brought back so many memories. That was some of the best times of my life, and you couldn't help but dance. So, but it felt
Absolutely.
good.
And
Got the blood flowing again.
yeah, that's such powerful medicine because you
Yep.
can get into the moment, and that moment has such a positive
Oh, I
vibration
was crying
for
at one point. I had tears of
yeah,
joy.
that's so awesome. That's like totally how to shift it quick.
Yep. So I
That's
had to
magic.
bring myself back down to earth there before I came back on. I was like I said, I was sweating and everything. I'm over here pounding Gatorade because Wayne told me I needed electrolytes. So I got
Yes.
them, Wayne.
Yay.
Anyway, how's Trina doing?
Oh, Trina's doing good. Yep. I'm
What have
just
you been
doing.
into today? Have you enjoyed your day off? I guess
I
you.
have. It has been wonderful. I went out and planted some more food and laid in the sun for a little bit and played with the puppies and helped the kids do some rearranging of furniture and yeah, just hanging out. It's wonderful.
It started out to be a nice day here. It got cloudy, it's cloudy now, but it's supposed to be raining here. But fortunately, we're not going to get those bad storms like people south of us are going to get. There's supposed to be some pretty bad storms. So anybody south
I
of us,
heard that. Yeah, I
take
heard
care
about that.
tonight. I know a lot of people are under tornado watch and warnings and things like that. So
Yeah, and you know what we can do collectively is all when we see these bad storms, literally just take a few seconds and say, will of God be done, but if we can help to calm this storm, it shall be done. And just send out a simple prayer to settle it down. And if it's in alignment with creation, it will work. So
and
we can
speaking of
practice these
sending
things.
out a simple prayer, didn't you have something you wanted to mention?
Yeah, Karen's father, Queen of Courts, her daddy's in the hospital with some kidney issues. So everybody say prayer that he gets home real fast and real safe and gets, stabilized. So he's in good care and they know who he is and he's in good hands. But
I'd
just
like to
make
add
sure
to
you
that
tell
also. I'd
people.
like to
Yeah.
send out some good favor and prayers for Ryan SK's dad because he is off the ventilator now. I found out today, and Ryan and his mom are doing rather well, but his
Good.
dad's still having some issues. So send him some love as well.
Oh,
So
absolutely.
yeah,
Absolutely. Godspeed to his healing. Yeah.
Ryan's right up there in the middle of it. Shoot, Manhattan.
Oh, he really is. I think of him all the time. I'm like, oh my God, it's got to be insane.
And he's a pharmacist.
I know.
So I mean, he's dealing with it. I
Oh
mean,
my
he
gosh.
actually dealt with it. He was sick. He got the virus.
Oh, he did.
Yeah, and he recovered from it. And then his mom had it too, and she's pretty much recovered too. I mean, she's still a little weak and stuff. Ryan's pretty good though, but like I said, his dad's still having some issues. So
No, well, come on, Daddy. We send you strength and we send you a miracle. Yeah.
absolutely.
Aaron's daddy too. Let's bring him home and bring him home stable and safe and sound.
And we know the powers we have. I mean, the Schumann resonance, all that.
Yes. It's crazy and something's going on with it. And yeah, well, there's something going on with the electromagnetic field. We might have got hit with a small solar flare, but it almost looks like we shielded ourselves from it. It's
Well, there
powerful.
was that
Right?
double CME the other day, so I
Yeah,
don't.
and I think we
Usually takes about
literally
48 hours to impact.
yeah, and I think we literally shielded and pushed it back. Our magnetic field did some really cool radical stuff. And the Schumann's been off the chart. So yeah, guys, we're changing the frequency of the planet.
Well, I mean, we know everything is connected, including us to this planet. So
Oh, for sure. Oh, and what's so amazing? I saw this the other day in meditation, and it was like a suggestion for the ones who are trying to make changes, on the earth with the meditations and stuff. it was like, they showed me how, like, we sent out this huge light, like, we sent out this huge light, and they were like, "Now envision the Torah, like, bring it back in and circulate it through." And I was like, "Wow, that makes perfect sense." So they were like, "Bring it back down into the earth now." They were like, because they showed me, like, we took our energy up so high, we got, like, attached to, like, ninth dimension, and
Well,
now
it's
they're like,
the natural order of things anyway to cycle back around.
yeah, and that's what they showed me. They were like, "Bring the light that you connected to above and just anchor it into the earth now." I was like, "Wow, that makes a lot of sense. Okay, I'll pass on the
It's
message."
funny, like when I do my clearings and stuff, then I'll bring
Yeah,
in
Torah.
healing light, you know. So
Yeah, the Torah field. It's the spiral of, like, it's the energy flow creation we're in.
it's a beautiful thing. I don't know how many people do those clearings and stuff out there. That once you get into it and it starts working, it's amazing how, like, I'll say start from my head and go and you can feel like go
You
down
can,
through your body like an
yeah.
X-ray scan or something. It's
But Brian, that's really high level. You're really in tune now with your body, and that took you a while to learn.
oh, absolutely.
That's what I mean. A lot of people, like, they'll hear you say that, like, "Well, why don't I woo when I do that?" And it's like, "Well, he worked at
Trust
this."
me,
Yeah, he
it took
worked
me
at
a
this
long
for a
time.
while.
Yeah, because it took me forever just to believe in myself to actually think that I was
Correct.
capable of something like
Yes,
that.
so all of you people who are just waking up, it's like, boy, give yourself some time. We've been doing this for a while, but you'll get there.
You may think you're crazy in the beginning, but trust me, sanity will come.
True. Yeah, you start getting so much information and in the body and
Careful what
all
you wish
over your.
for.
Yes, yes.
No, there is things that come along with that.
So
So,
true.
you know,
Oh, yeah, that's why they say waking up is painful. It really is because there's a lot that happens with it.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
All right, let's see what we got with us real quick before we get too far behind. I'm probably already too far behind. Ms. Skywalker, wow, first and foremost. Big
Yes.
Al. There's David Berry. How you doing, David? Dick Trickle, welcome back, buddy. Let's see who else. Deborah Trudeau. I'm gonna be getting her on here, I think, actually. I think we're gonna have to tape it, but I'm gonna work something out with her. There's Miss Shannon Kling. Troy Stitter, welcome, welcome, welcome. David Castle, good to see you. Infinite Frequency 6111. What's going on? Leanne V, good to see you. Who else we got going on here? I said Leanne V. Bree Cozy, Barry Chad. What's going on? There's Miss Delaney.
Hi, Delaney.
Infinite, I said that one. Elsie Darling, what's going on? She put a video out. I need to watch that. I started it and I didn't get to finish it, but it's definitely one I need to finish, I can tell.
Yes, it was
It's
very good.
Tribal 444. Did you watch it?
Yes, I did.
Yeah,
I
it
love
was getting a
Elsie.
little emotional for me. I was like, sure, I got to come back to this one.
Oh, I love it, and I love it, and I love, she's been battling her
That's
calling,
what
and
I
she's like,
she's
"I'm
raw
gonna
emotion,
do what I'm."
It's
Yeah, I was
you get
like,
what you see
"Go,
right there.
girl."
That's Lost in Space. What's going on? Darth Samuel Nagayan, how you doing? Welcome back. Robert V, what's going on, brother? Finally getting Robert on here too.
Oh, right on.
There's Miss Marsha Price. Was just talking about you a minute ago, and the Rods of Ra.
And look what she
Things
just
are
sent me. It's so beautiful.
Ooh, that is cool.
I know. It's got the spiral in the front and the crystal in the top.
I'm gonna do a show on these rods of Ra too. She sent me some information today. It's a little blurry, but I'm deciphering it. And plus, I found a few other
Awesome.
things. And these things, like that, they're still intriguing me. So we'll
That
do a
is
show
so
on that.
awesome.
I got a lot of feedback on that. People wanting to know about them. So
Yeah, me too. I was like, "Oh yeah, what's up?"
I've
Share.
never heard of them, but boy, I'm glad I did.
I think I have heard of them, but it's been a long time, and I really didn't know how they were really used and what the properties were. So yeah, I
Like
want
I
to
said,
learn more.
luckily I didn't even read into it first, but when I first pulled them out of the package when
You
she
were like,
sent them,
"Whoa!"
luckily, and I grabbed them with the right hand, the way it's supposed to be, and I was like,
Right?
"What the
Take
hell are
off.
these things?" I set them down. I was like, "Well, I got to come
You're
back
like,
to
"Whoa!"
this."
That's awesome.
All right,
Shows
let's.
too how powerfully you're getting connected to frequencies and energies. That's so awesome.
It's just being open to it, like I said, and
Yeah.
I don't have that block up anymore where I'm self-doubt. So, that
Yes,
opens up all kinds of
self-doubt.
avenues. Yeah.
Exactly.
All right, let's keep it going. David Null, what's going on, buddy? Good to see you. There's BTW70. I love that man right there's a good one. Ian Barber, what's going on, my friend? Who else we got going? Judith Nolan. There's my like Nazi. I love Judith. Diana Reeves, how you doing? Jaway, what's going on? Lolo in Lakesh Alakin Chavez, what's going on? Miss Brandy Robinson, Project Skyfalls, how y'all doing? Good to see you. Woo, I did get a little far behind. I think I'm getting there. I feel it. Seen a lot of repeat names. Mandy Moo, welcome, welcome, welcome. I think I saw her in there the other night. I'm assuming it's a her. Correct me if I'm wrong. There's Crystal MacArthur. How you doing? Twisted Isby, what's going on? Well, I did let it get back. I see that we're buffering every now and then. Mr. Gaza Cav, what's going on, buddy? Good to see you. We need to get him back on here. Yeah, Gaza, let me know. I want to do a show on like edible weeds and things like that, foraging. So if you've got any knowledge on that, I'd love to have you back on.
That'd be a great show.
Yeah, definitely. Like I said, I've had a lot of interest in it. There's Miss Mary Wins. How you doing? My PR department. DE, welcome, welcome, welcome. First time viewer, I think. Kent Nichols, what's going on, buddy? Good to see you. Needing some love, DE? Well, you're in the right place, my friend. Let me tell you. There's Candy Apple. Good to see you. We have definitely got a lot of love here. There's Miss Debbie Bailey. Welcome back home. Good to see you. Hey, I caught up. There we go.
Best group in the whole world.
Like I said, I'd like to welcome all the new viewers.
Yes. Hello, welcome.
Get my electrolytes in. Was there anything you'd like to add before we get it rolling? I like to start about 10 or 15 into it. So.
Oh God, what were we talking about before we got on?
God only knows.
I think what were we talking about that you wanted to talk about Wayne that you didn't get into?
Oh no, that's a whole other show. I'm talking about those executive orders and stuff like that. Like that's truly a whole other show.
Yeah. You're right. That is a whole show. It's like, oh yeah. No, I'm good. I'm ready to get into some higher minds. I've been doing the alchemy book and I just love this stuff. It's like all synchronistic and it's all going in the same way.
Like I said, I was talking to Wayne a little bit about it last night. And, I mean, a lot of the information I know most of us know, but I like how it kind of puts it into layman's terms, really, and simplifies it. And really, even though you know this information, it's still like, well, yeah, okay, yeah, I knew that. And it's just like confirmation.
It's kind of good because, we've been so programmed with crap code. It's just good to put good information in your mind and keep replaying that positive information so you can reprogram out of the bad stuff that's been thrown at you for 20 years now, subliminally through TV, radio, just everything.
And I'll tell you something important to keep in mind when we're going over this book as well, too, is believing in yourself, believing that anything is possible and you're capable of amazing feats that you're not even aware of. Yeah. Believe that. Know it to be true.
That is a fact.
So, all right, you ready to rock and roll, Hoochie Coo?
I'm ready to rock and roll. Hoochie.
All right, here we go. Chapter 29. Kindness can open doors for you like nothing else will. Reliability, kindness, and enthusiasm are the three most important qualities in business and human relations. Guess what? There is more to business and success than money. Ain't that the truth?
Mm-hmm.
I've always said that your reputation stays about 3 miles ahead of you wherever you go. When people know they can trust you, they will relax around you. That makes it more enjoyable to be around you, both in business and private. Kindness is an expression of direct delivery of love from the universal consciousness. In business, even if negotiations are unsuccessful because of something you cannot do, if you explain why and show kindness, The other party will still like you and may come back with something you are able to do later. When you show enthusiasm, it is contagious. The word comes from the Greek word entheos. It means to be filled with God. How
Mm,
can we go wrong with that? Oh, that
wow.
was just a short one. Yeah, how can we go wrong with that? All right, chapter 30. I know there ain't no questions so far.
Nope.
All right, here we go. Chapter 30 then. Asking for help is not a sign of weakness. And you know, that truly used to be a big hurdle for me, is asking for help. Think like, pride's a mug.
Oh, I think it's the original sin, like the first one, pride made us fall.
Yeah.
Yep,
It is
pride.
it is a sign of strength. In a physical reality, you're engaging the mastermind principle of the two or more minds multiplied by each other, which can give phenomenal results. In a spiritual reality, you are only engaging another dimension of yourself and asking for a joint effort in helping the situation. The universal consciousness has a mind of its own, pun intended, and is not affected or pressured by need or desperation, and acts in its own time and in its own way. Prayer requests during desperate moments and with your mind full of fear usually get more of what is in your mind, desperation and fear. Though higher spiritual beings around could interfere and help if it is to avoid a diversion from your master plan for this life cycle. When we go into meditation, go within, open the channel to the universal consciousness and ask for help. Somehow we get help or advice or inspiration that will lead to help. After we ask, we really need to listen for what comes into our mind. We need to act on the advice or inspiration that comes through to us, even if we do not like the solution provided. It reminds me of the guy who was mountain climbing. With no safety ropes, he was scaling a really difficult ledge. He slipped and fell, but in this fall, he caught a branch and was barely hanging on 500 feet above the ground straight down, and only bare rock walls straight up. He said to himself, "This can't be good." He looked straight down 500 feet onto jagged rocks and looked up at nothing to hold on to, and he could feel the branch slowly starting to give away. He thought to himself, "I have not really prayed much. Maybe this is a good time to start." He then called out, "God, please save me." And then he waited. He looked down again and still did not like what he saw. He looked up and nothing. Suddenly he heard a deep rumbling voice speaking to him. "I will save you. Let go of the branch." The man thought about that, looked down again and looked up again and called out, "Anyone else up there?" "Yes, I know, but that is my point." But what is my point? There are two of them. One of them is that anyone who says God does not have a sense of humor is wrong. I guarantee you that we do. The other point is that sometimes the advice we get is not the advice we like to hear. The advice may be to go and humble ourselves and ask for forgiveness, or repay a moral debt, keep a promise we really do not want to keep, admit to a very embarrassing truth for a higher good, or something like that. If we're sure of the source of the advice and know it is the right thing to do, we will be better off in the long run by following the advice. The short term effects of the embarrassment will go away, but the long term effects of the knowledge of the dishonesty or error will linger throughout your life and after. People are usually very forgiving if they know you did the right thing. So the question is, would you let go of that branch? If we are more concerned with the physical body than the spiritual, we would probably say, "Anyone else up there?" If we are sure of whom we really are, an all powerful spiritual being with no limitations, knowing our thoughts are law, we may choose differently. The spiritual being cannot be hurt and never dies. Besides, the unseen influences are in us and around us all the time. When you know who you are and are solidly connected to the free flow of universal consciousness, the facts don't count. I remember reading a newspaper article a couple of decades ago about a baby who fell out of a window from the 12th floor of an apartment building in Brazil. The baby hit the ground in a flower bed. He was crying, but he was unhurt. Two witnesses who spoke in the interview said they saw the baby slow down before it hit the ground. Yes, the unseen influences are there. The universe is a wondrous place to roam around when you know who you are. Like I said, asking for help is not a sign of weakness, but a sign of strength. It goes along with the saying, it takes a real man to be able to cry. There's something about asking for help in extreme situations of life or impending physical termination that bypasses the restrictions in the normal process of accessing the universal consciousness. I asked about this and got the answer. You are never alone. There are helpers always watching out so your life will progress as you intended. That actually makes sense to me. These helpers, our guardians, are on site with you in your linear time slot. They feel and see your emotional requests and can interfere in the moment. They are there actually to avoid accidents, but accidents still do happen. And of course, these helpers are souls as yourself, engaging in their own learning cycle in a higher vibratory, holographic, non physical existence. Their job is to watch over us, to see we are not screwing it up too badly. I'm sure some of us are keeping them really busy. This is why they are called guardians. They are not the guardians of the soul. That is another group of higher spiritual beings. They are the ones who review your life experience with you after your life cycle ends and plans a new one with you if you are to come back. I hate to burst your bubble, but Earth, this universe and its vibration of density, is almost at the bottom of the scale. I'm told there are two other I'm told there are two lower than us. Those places are not good places to be. Even the astral graveyard where astral bodies drift off to after termination is higher than ours. It is true, as the master may have said some 2,000 years ago, in my Father's house there are many rooms. So the moral of the story is, do not be afraid to ask. My mom always used to say, beggars may not get much, but the ones who never ask will get nothing. And that's a hard hurdle, like I said, asking for help. Pride.
It is. And you know what? It is the best thing you could ever do. I think that's a part about stepping out of selfish thought patterns and going more into the selfless, where you connect to your family, spirit family, soul family, real family, like this community family. This is when you reach out. When you say, I need help, it always helps. It just works.
And that's the beauty behind having a community like we have. Like, I would hate to think that there's anybody out there that's truly in some kind of emotional or physical pain and are afraid to reach out to any of us, because that's what we're here for.
Yeah.
So,
Hey, Al's going to have some bad storms tonight. He's like, please pray for the safety of Alabama tonight. They got some doozies coming in.
I was thinking about Al earlier. I saw a little clip on
Yeah.
the news where there was a truck that had got blew off of an overpass onto the lower lanes, and the guy walked away from it, survived.
Yeah. He's a lucky
And
boy. But I tell you what, this is one of those God help me moments. And they did.
right.
Yeah. Those miracles, they happen every day. And I do believe it's because people cry out and they say, God help me. And the powers that be will come in and facilitate. They do.
I mean, it's all it goes back to belief. It's believing, like they said,
Yeah.
taking that leap, even though you think you're going to die. If you let go of that branch, let go.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
the thing is, when you're in that situation, is what would be going through my mind. Just like when I had that heart attack, I was like, I accepted it, and
Yeah.
I was good with that.
Right. You're like, it's okay. And yeah, there's a powerful thing in that surrendering. There
Yeah.
really is. There's a
I
powerful,
wondered if maybe if I wouldn't have accepted that, if I would have just died.
possibly because I think you knew that you really did have a choice, and you were like, well, whatever your will is, thy be done. No big deal. And that's, I think, when they're like, maybe this one needs to stay around a little bit. I really do. I think it's a matter of so many things and so many choices and so many things that you do in the moment, you know?
Here for something.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I
Did we
said,
have any questions?
nope, not yet. Just watching stuff. You guys, I love you all so much. Hi, Johan. All of you are just so awesome. And I'm just kind of watching chat and trying to listen to you at the same time. But
Oh,
no,
I'm telling you, pound for pound, this is the best chat room on YouTube, period.
absolutely, absolutely, and they're all talking about how to heal each other and all this beautiful stuff. Yeah.
That's why I love it. I mean, I know, most of them listen, probably some of them don't, but it's even if they don't, I love the banter that goes on in chat, because it's not just a bunch of useless garb, it's actually discussing real issues, real things. So
Think about it. I think the weather is like going nuts because we're moving into some part of the solar system where there's some massive energy coming in right now. We're getting solar flares, particle accelerations, these big, massive
supernovas
energy.
galore.
Yeah, and then you got the fear. There's so much fear on the planet. That's a recipe for stuff. So we just need to pray calm, peace, settle the storms down, settle all the energies down into some peace and calm things
Laugh,
down.
smile.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, all right, I guess we'll go on with chapter 31 then.
Right on. This is great. I love those stories, Brian. They were beautiful.
Yeah, like I said, this guy, he puts it out there where it just makes it easy. Even
Yeah,
though there's a
people
lot
in
of tongue
chat.
twisters in here, at least I don't have to say universal consciousness every 5 words,
Right? Yeah, a lot of people in chat were like, wow, that's a beautiful story. So they were digging that.
Cool. All right, well, here we go. Chapter 31.
Okay.
What are we made of? Let us touch a little more on who we are and what we are. That is two different things. For what the physical body is concerned, you are nothing. Since the universe was created from nothing and you are in this universe, you have to be of the same substance the universe is made of. So you are nothing, except for the substance that existed before the universe was created, the part of the universal consciousness we call the soul. The spark of life, spirit, all that is intelligent, non physical energy which has no dimensions, no physical energy, no time, and no physical space. This is the soul or spirit, the spiritual you, or part of the intelligent, non physical energy in its original form of the spark of life. We're allowed to leave the great sea of light as a thought form given as a perceived individuality to go and play, create, learn, and to manifest, but still be a part of the all collective mind, the universal consciousness. After its journey and return to the great sea of light, all of its essence, consciousness, and life intelligence will remain with the collective mind, the great sea of light. Your
Mm.
physical body consists mostly of the electric particles that make up the component parts of the hologram in which we are walking around. That is the cells, molecules, atoms, electrons, protons, neutrons, quarks, muons, and smaller particles all the way down to the etherons. Until there are no particles, just waves of intelligent creative energy which phases in and out of the physical realm. It reacts to thought and creates thought because it is thought. This intelligent thought is the universal mind or universal consciousness, who forms and shapes the particles and their actions and purposes according to spiritual, mental, and physical holographic rules of science through your mind.
Wow.
Yeah, that was a lot of truth in just those couple of pages right
Sorry,
there.
I was so sucked into you. I even lost track of chat there for a minute. I was like, whoa, this is amazing information.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't see any
And I mean,
questions.
it's just 2 pages. But I mean, when he talks about like how we're always talking about we're all connected and
Oh,
we're all individual sparks or pieces of our creator, right there you go, the spark of life. We're all individual pieces, and all our thoughts, and that's why I say every thought matters, because every
Crystal's
thought
like,
sends
oh
a
crap,
ripple
I'm
out
gonna
throughout the
cry.
universe. Huh?
David's like, this book is spot on. Love it.
It is, man. So no questions. I mean, I'm kind of in awe.
Nope.
It was just a couple of I'm
No,
ready to keep
everybody's
going.
just like, this, I'm gonna be reading this stuff for sure, says Leanne. She's like, yeah, this is great information.
Yeah, and
Powerful.
anybody that still needs it, I can send it out. I'd be more than happy. I'm still sent. I sent out 2 copies today, so people are
Oh
still
boy, I would
asking
say
for it.
this is definitely one you'd want to have. You could read this over and over again. If anytime you get in a funk, just sit down and read this and it'll straighten you right out.
Yep, absolutely. All
Yeah,
right, well, let's keep it rolling then.
right on.
Okay, so now that we have figured out who and what we are, the next question is how. How did the creation of everything in your hologram happen? How can this intelligent thought create all and everything we see around us? Well, actually, it doesn't. The ego part of your mind is what is creating all you see and running it as a movie for you. Although the ego is using the technology of the universal mind to create the movie, so indirectly we can say everything around you is created by the universal mind or consciousness. We hear of the theory of evolution, theory of creation, God creation, and that there is this theory of alien seeding of our world. Can you start to see that your ego has been really busy? Now, working the puzzle by physical rules, I was always told that the best way to find the answer to a question or a conundrum was to go back to its original source. In this case, the source is the Big Bang. And what was before that? There was actually no Big Bang because everything that came through at the Big Bang was thought, a curious, inquisitive thought of love, one of what can I create? The universal consciousness is an integral part, and one of the universal Father entered this vibration as a thought form and created a medium of thought for learning, play, and experimentation. This perceived individualized thought form multiplied itself throughout all the universes so that the one wave of love is now everywhere on all levels of existence or vibration. This whole mess we are living is in love. Everything on the outside of the soul is a mind created, visual, intelligent, self aware, and creative hologram projected from your mind. This all originated at the one thought which came through at the Big Bang. This thought contained the blueprint for all illusionary content of the universes. And I am getting that this was an unplanned event. Wow. Understanding creation is not something we can just read and say, aha, so that's how it is. This may take some thought, contemplation, meditation, and higher consciousness thinking to wrap your head around. Since we are on the subject and you are not totally confused yet, we might as well go even deeper into the mysteries of mind creation. Here is something that must be clarified. I'm sure many of you have brought this question up in your mind. Do you remember I said that you're responsible for creating everything in your life? That is everything, including your cat, Cadillac automobile, your neighbor's toothache, and everything else you're observing. It's all in your mind created hologram. You are responsible. This can get very complicated if we forget what is real and what is the illusion. Let us say you and another person are sitting in a room reading this book. You look up to the other person and say, aha, I created you. The other person looks at you and answers, no, wait a minute. It says in here that I created you. So you sit there and stare at each other for a while. All kinds of confusing thoughts are flying through your head. You always knew the chicken came before the egg. Otherwise, there'd be no egg, right? No, it's not like that. It is not a stare down contest, nor the one who speaks first loses. It's really very simple. You both exist as holograms created by the ego portion of your subconscious mind and the universal mind as one, because as souls, you are one as part of the universal consciousness. You created the other person, and the other person created you within the oneness of the universal mind as outward projections of thought. Remember the large root system with all the individual looking trees coming from it. The outward expressions of thought gives you a perceived individuality only. There is nothing real in it. It is all an illusion. Remember what came through the Big Bang. It was just a thought, and nothing physically, really, or otherwise solid. This thought had the blueprint of the universal hologram with the laws of physics for the lower vibration of physical existence embedded in it. After the one thought multiplied itself, the thoughts started their journey of creation. These thoughts were the sparks of life of the great sea of light that came to learn, grow, and play in this new reality of form or physical reality. What you see has to be of the same substance as the only thing there is in this universe, just thought. The movie that is being played in your mind is done for the purpose of creating the outward experience of the perception of creation and manifestation away from and parallel to the oneness of the great sea of light. All of what you create and manifest belongs to the great sea of light because that is the home of love. You need to read this again. I had to read it 10 times after it came to me.
Hey,
Life is a
David, David Knoll asked a question. Was the
Okay.
Big Bang actually our universe leaking into this realm? That is a great question.
Is the universe actually?
Was the Big Bang actually our universe leaking into this realm? An
I mean, I guess
explosion,
if that's your thought,
an explosion of thought. I could totally see how that would, yeah, that could,
I need to ponder on that one, to be honest
yeah.
with
I can
you.
see, I can see where he's going with that, and that could make a lot of
I
sense.
mean, Dave, if you want to do a show on it, we can do one.
Yeah, that's a great thought, David.
Yeah.
Let me
So
see
hit
if
me
there's
up.
anything else because I kind of stopped it.
Right.
Okay.
No, definitely. I mean, if there's any questions, yeah.
Yeah, David Barry. Okay. David Barry says we are individual mind experiencing a co-created, agreed upon existence, perceiving from different perspectives, only mind, one mind, fragmented and fractalized. Bingo. Yep.
It's like they were he was talking earlier, like God created everything, who created God? And the only way you can truly answer that is it just is.
And it's also too, it's like the difference between visible light and invisible light, the difference between false light and true light, eternal light versus infinite light. So we're creating from a place that we cannot perceive, we cannot see, because it's from above. Like they said, you can't create something from nothing because this is a state of nothingness, because it's a fractal thought. So
Right.
uh, uh, but we're creating from a place that's above the hologram, that's above the hologram. So that's the true you, the spirit, the soul part of you.
Yep.
That's the true part of you, which will drop the flesh and go back up to above the holographic matrix. So that's where, that's like, that's where it's going to be. But in this matrix, we're not able to perceive that at this moment because we're not supposed to be. That's how this game works. Amnesia.
Right.
Yep.
This is my last rodeo here, though.
Though I think about that a lot and I totally get that. Like I'm totally like, yeah, me too. But then I was like,
I mean, if I
um,
got to come back, hey,
I
whatever.
wonder if this is like a great opportunity, like one that you truly stand up and wait in line to get. Because literally, that was kind of what the Lord was showing me when I was like, I don't want to come. He was like, do you know how many wanted to be doing this? I was like, I know they can take my place. He was like, no, but you said you would do this. So, I wonder that sometimes too, if this is
That's like
just,
Wayne and I were talking last night. We both felt like we chose to be here at this time. And I mean, look at the resilience of the people in this community. We literally, most of us have been to hell and back, and that's by
yes,
preparation for what we're facing now.
totally agreed.
So,
I'm like, bingo. Yeah, totally agreed, Brian. I'm like, oh yeah, it's been a rodeo. Woo.
yeah. So I mean, like I say, if I got to do it again, I'll do it. Hey, like I said, I signed up this time. What makes me want to
Yeah,
think I
thinking,
wouldn't sign up
maybe
again?
after we rest for a little while, we're ready to get feisty again.
After this one, I need some rest for a while. I mean,
Right?
I got a lot of holes and shit in my body
Yeah,
that
me
I
too.
can
It's like,
repair.
man, I need to put myself back together. I'm gonna need a little rest.
All right, let's get back to it.
Okay, that's so funny.
Here we go. Life is a very difficult and complicated place to live, as we were just saying, because we think it is real. It takes a while to start understanding the illusion. We must remember illusions come and go, but life is the one thing we will never lose. That is why I'm saying this book is written on several levels of consciousness. Take the time to read, study, and think on the details about creation. It is essential to illumination. I know no other way to explain it. This is how it came to me. You should have felt the aha moment I had. It came in a flash, in complete detail with full understanding before I got it written down. The understanding got hazy for me, so I had to work on that part. The verbal description on the download is lacking because some of it is lost. It is hard to translate into words the emotional feelings of the oneness. Geometry is a part of the language representing the laws of the universe, and the three-pronged bright diamond-shaped lights flickering in the bright white sea of light. It is a language of its own, and I'm not a very good translator. It would be fun to hear from others who may have had similar experiences. And, you know, that's like we've talked before. It doesn't really come as like voices and things. It's like transfer of thought.
Yeah, exactly. Or your own thoughts, like your own thoughts.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like you're like, where'd that thought come from? Yeah. Especially like divine stuff, like the intervention stuff. Like you'll be thinking of something totally different, and then all of a sudden this divine thought comes into your mind.
And
Yeah.
that's like here, like I can think of somebody and I'll get a text or an email or like that's happening all the time. Or
Oh,
like I'll think of something and it'll come, yeah, a video will pop up and, you know, just crazy. All these synchronicities going on is just getting out of control.
it's totally nuts. It's completely nuts. It was just like you were just reading about the nothing can be created out of nothing. I was just literally reading that with the Saint Germain alchemy book. It's like, and that was profound to me when I was trying to digest that concept, and that's how I got it was, oh, because we're creating above the hologram. Oh, I get it now. And then you're going over the same exact information. It's like, pay attention, this is something you need to understand. These synchronicities are going boom, 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 lining up. Insane right now.
You don't even have to ask. I mean, you just receive.
Yeah, it's just like coming from all different directions. It's profound what's happening right now. Profound.
All right, well, let's get on with, hey, chapter 33. This has got to be a good one.
Oh, yeah.
What about the creation of mankind? There is much confusion on this issue also, because what I find is that there has been many seedlings of genetic flora material and intelligent creatures, including human-looking ones, on Earth over the last 100 million years. Most of the higher intelligence failed, but there are few and they are still around. Sorry. Why would I speak of this anyway? Knowing the physical existence is only an illusion and should not be considered real. Well, it has a purpose. If we are being misled into believing that the physical existence is all there is, or other dogma, it will extend our need for moving in and out of physical bodies until we wise up and realize that spirit is all there is, and the physical is only an illusion, that we can advance to higher vibrations. Space is full of life. Throughout the physical existence, there are reptilian intelligence, including some higher reptilian intelligences, animal intelligences, plant intelligences, and human intelligences. Everything in the physical existence has a form of life because it is part of the universal consciousness. Yes, including the rock, water, and man made substances. Civilizations have come and gone on Earth for millions of years. They usually got destroyed by conflict, disasters, or just left the planet to avoid a disaster. One of the last times Earth was visited and seeded from space and a colony was settled was about 450,000 years ago. It was a pure alien settlement from a planet orbiting our sun. The planet 4 times as big as Earth has an orbit extending from Mars and Jupiter in a very elongated orbit reaching far out into space beyond Pluto. The orbital time is 36 or 3,660 years. So, how do we know this is for sure? The more historical explanation is that there are written records of their activities on Earth. These records are called the Sumerian tablets. Much of these writings are the recorded texts written on hardened clay tablets 5,000 to 10,000 years ago or more. Some of it has been researched and translated for better understanding. It is the most phenomenal and interesting reading anyone can do. It has the early history of mankind and before all the way back to 445,000 years ago. You can read all about it in the book, The Lost Book of Enki. There is even some archaeological evidence for some of this. We have found skeletons of a race of people we called Homo sapiens sapiens, and there is physical archaeological evidence that they lived in Palestine 400,000 years ago. Teeth and bone fragments removed at the Qizim cave near Rosh Ha-Ayin in Palestine by Dr. Avi Gopher and Dr. Ran Barkai at Tel Aviv University in Israel show that there are very little difference between them and us. Their teeth were almost identical to ours. We both have vegetarian teeth. The evidence from the cave shows these Homo sapiens sapiens used fire on a regular basis, and made many different forms of flint blades and tools. This Homo sapiens sapiens was most likely the being that was modified to become the Adam by the Anunnaki. In the 3rd century BC, a Babylonian priest named Berosus went through a large amount of Sumerian written text. He summarized the history of mankind and delivered it to the Greeks. The summarized document is called Enki and Ninmah, the creation of mankind. Berosus translated and wrote about the arrival of these extraterrestrials about 445,000 BC when they came to engage in mining operations. They needed large amounts of specific metal, gold, and there was much of it in East Africa. This mining activity was dirty. It was hard work for the people from space, and at one point the miners revolted. The leader of the settlement came up with a plan to replace the miners with a new created species. Looking at their own image and after their own likeness, the creation process of this new man was not easy for them. The name of the leader of the settlement was Enki. His spouse or companion was Ninmah. Enki and Ninmah wanted to create a servant worker that would just work and not ask questions from a being that already existed in the local area. They were the ones who set out to do the genetic modification to the animal that already existed. In its description, it sounded as an erect walking humanoid. The Sumerians explained how the settlers went about the creation of this new creature they called the Adam, and how the gods discussed the project among themselves and said, "Let us make the Adam in our own image and our own likeness." Does this not sound familiar? Read Genesis in the Bible and judge for yourself. It is only that this was written thousands of years before the Bible was even compiled. In the written records of the proceedings, there were many failed attempts in creating one in their own image. Enki was called a god. The word translated to be God in the Anunnaki language means great leader. It says all they wanted to do was put their own substance and mark on the new being. It states that some of the first failed samples of the created being had 2 heads, missing arms, no eyes, etc. Enki was said to be a caring god, so he cared and took care for the failed ones. In the translations, they explained in detail the process they were using to manipulate the genetics. The science Berosus is explaining in his writings 2,300 years ago totally matches the present day process they are using for genetic engineering and cloning. What they were doing was cloning the being that already existed and adding their own substance, genetic mark or likeness to it. Now get this, the region the extraterrestrials had settled in was called Eridu. The first local settlement where they did these experiments was called Eden. One of the first finished perfectly produced workers was called the Adam. Also Adama is translated to mean earthling. That is too much of a coincidence for me, and I do not believe in coincidences. This was originally written millennia before the Bible was even thought of. The genetic manipulation process seemed to drag on, and Ninmah, Enki's wife, took the project away from Enki's total control. After she had control, there was only a short time until the finished Adam was a reality. It is written in the tablets, from the 2 twisted rods of life, they created man in their own image, but removed from him the powers of the gods and immortality. The 2 twisted rods of life is obviously the twisted 2-strand double helix, which holds the code of life. The process explained in these 10,000 years or more old writings, which Berosus got his information from, are almost identical to the genetic engineering and in vitro fertilization used today. When Ninmah finally created the finished product, she called it the Adam. It explains she was carrying the Adam for 10 months and had to cut her belly open to bring him to life. This was denied the genetic ability to procreate because he had no mate. The Adam was created as subservient laborers for the mining operation, so they had to make many of them. They found that the Adam did little work and was unhappy, so they decided to make a mate for him. They also go into detail in how they accomplished this. They evidently added the X and Y chromosome to the standard of 22. Up to this point, they were cloning the Adam just to supply their workforce. With the mate for the Adam, no cumbersome cloning or surrogate mothers was necessary to supply the workforce for them. The Sumerian texts also state that Enki's companion gave of her substance and marked to create a mate for Adam. The companion to Adam was named Shava, which means she of life. Somehow that ended up being translated to Eve in English. There is much similarity in the pronunciation of Eva and Shava if you pronounce it the way it is done in that part of the world. Let me recap a little bit. These extraterrestrials live on a planet they call Nibiru, which has an orbit cycle of 3,660 years around our sun. The orbit extends out into the dark space far beyond the planet Pluto. They orbit around the sun between the fourth and fifth planet, where the asteroid belt is. Their orbit is slanted 30 degrees up, coming into the solar system. They landed 445,000 years ago in Southeast Africa and created a colony they called Eden. After they created the atom and there were humans, they told the humans they were the gods. They explained they are space travelers from the 12th planet of the sun named Sol, of which we are the third planet from the inside. We may ask how they can live on a planet that travels far into space where there is no light and heat. Well, they live on the inside of the planet in a big cavern. The planet is 4 to 5 times as big as Earth, so there's lots of room. In the recorded history of the Sumerians, there is much enlightenment about our history and where we come from. The book of Jubilee is explaining the expulsion of Adam and Eve from the Garden of Eden. It states Adam and Eve left the Garden of Eden and went home to the land of nativity. That means they left Eden and went home to Abzu, a place in southeastern Africa. In Second Jubilee, it states that Adam knew his wife. In Sumerian language, knew meant to have sex. In the third week of the Second Jubilee, Eve gave birth to Cain. Later, she bore Abel. In the fifth Jubilee, it is stated she had a daughter and named her Awan. The records of the Bible, which were copied from older historical records, states they went on to have many sons and daughters. Older Sumerian and Babylonian records speak of Adam and Eve having 63 children. Credible older Sumerian writings and archaeological findings places the start of humanity not in Eden, but at Abzu in Southeast Africa, 250,000 to 270,000 years ago. It has become accepted that the place that the Bible speaks of as Eden and the Sumerian Eden is the same place. The Assyrians, Babylonians speak of it as Edenu. The Sumerian king list explains who the rulers on earth were since the alien race, the Anunnaki, landed in Southeast Africa 445,000 years ago. It explains they were alone for 144,000 years before, according to the Sumerian clay tablets, historical records created the Adam as the primitive worker. The Bible refers to Adam in Genesis, the exact term as in the Sumerian tablets. Studies of DNA from bones in Southeast Africa places an Eve there some 200,000 to 250,000 years ago. The same organizational meeting in 1995 places an Adam at 270,000 years ago in the same place. When we study the Sumerian records, we find Adam being created 301,000 years ago. The records show Adam and his kind worked as laborers for a good long time for the master race, the Anunnaki gods, before Eve was even created. It became necessary to create Eve because Adam was unhappy and troublesome. Find an old historical document called the Epic of Atra, or Atra, Hassus, however you say that, and read the rest of the story. I'm getting it is pretty accurate. To read about these particular space travelers and what the old clay tablets write about them, you may want to read the translations of Zechariah Stitchin on the subject. Also read the documents Epic of Creation, The Lost Realm, The Legend of Adapa. If you're interested in real history, you could start with Genesis Revisited and The Lost Book of Enki, and the rest of the Earth Chronicles by Zechariah Stitchin. Keep in mind this is all in the illusionary physical existence, so do not get too tied up in it. Keep in mind what is real. Still, it can help you get your head straight about the physically true. Most of what is floating around in religious teachings are remnants and bits and pieces of information deriving from the old Sumerian tablets and other ancient writings. After reading some of these books, the Bible will make more sense. Everything that happened back then has a spiritual value attached to it, and there is spiritual learning that we can have from it. The spiritual thought from the spark of life, who was joined with the first of the atom, has been around on earth for a long time. It has been traveling around and observing and learning from the surroundings. When it was able to join the body of the atom, there was a new world of learning experiences to have, and there was great excitement. It stayed with the body for almost 1,000 years. Still remember, everything physical back then was also created by the mind, and it had to go through a physical, scientific process for being created into the physical existence.
Mhm.
Inky and Ninma was part of the process in order to enter our version of the genetically degraded man and woman onto the world stage for the souls to use in their play and learning. This alien civilization living on Nibiru is highly advanced in technology, but it is unclear how much spiritual understanding they may have. I am getting that they have very little and mostly rely on technology. Now, here's an interesting tidbit for you. They are on their way back into the solar system again. It will be a little while yet since they are just outside of Pluto, and it is a really slow moving planet. Every time they pass through the inner solar system, there are earth changes, flood, earthquakes, planet tip over, and some never turn right side up again. Many people perish. Just ask Noah of the Bible. He knows all about it. His flood was caused by this planet coming through the solar system some 13,000 years ago. Do you remember what Noah said was the reason for the flood? God said that mankind as a people had gone bad and needed to be destroyed. The Sumerian tablets explain exactly why the flood came about. It also explains why they destroyed Sodom in English, and Gomorrah with nuclear blasts. They had gone bad as a people. From the writings of the Sumerian clay tablets, it seems as the visitors from Nibiru clean up and eradicate what is not benevolent and just society. You may have read about this society was in Babylon, Sodom, and Gomorrah. It was the most corrupt and pervasive places we could think of, almost as bad as now. What do you think they will find this time when they come through? Do you think they will be pleased? Okay, quit laughing. You may have no idea how serious this is. The world today is more corrupt than Babylon, Sodom, and Gomorrah ever was. Governments today have thought of ways to enslave and torture people that the rulers in Babylon never would have thought of. This is something we should think about for a moment, especially people in governments. So now, when you have that thought of it for a moment, remember what is real. That is where your sanity and spiritual salvation is. The physical is of lesser importance. I know, yes, I know what it feels like, but that is the power and the ingenuity of the subconscious mind programming. The ego will keep your mind full of interesting events and scenarios. The movie will never be dull. It's very interesting to read about and discuss, but you have to bring your mind back to the spiritual and what is real. There is such a thing as truth within the illusion also. Once you have studied physical truth to the point where you can no longer be misled to believe that someone else will be your salvation and take care of things for you, and you understand that you are ultimately and totally responsible for the way your physical and spiritual life turns out, you can put your trust into the universal consciousness and the spiritual realm. From there on, you will have peace. We need to speak more about how to obtain this peace and the spiritual side of your existence. People with strong religious beliefs will do well for themselves after they drop the physical body this time around. If you live a good and honorable life and believe you will go to heaven, you will most likely end up in a place like that, even though that is part of the illusion. It's okay. It is another step on the ladder of spiritual growth for your spark of life to experience and learn from. Everything is as it should be.
Brian, Al has a question at Milky Way Messenger.
All right.
Thank the gods. Okay, he says, thank the gods for sending you here for these readings, that your teachings for us of our past and future ways of life. Do you feel this love from this?
Absolutely.
Yeah, me too.
Overwhelmingly.
Me too. Resonates very strong for me.
I mean, I get a lot from just reading this for myself, but I mean, it brings me even more joy, like just bringing people together and talking about things like this, because I know a lot of people, until they see things like this, you know, I mean, including myself at one point, I thought I was crazy.
I
So, I
know.
mean, you know, to see it written out in, you know, these books and all these people, us coming together, there's proof in the pudding. We found each other.
Yes. And it is that frequency, that magnetism that brought us together. I'm so grateful for that every single day. I really am.
Life is great. I keep saying it, it's an exciting time to be alive. And
It really is. I think we came here to do profound things, and in this way of learning and thinking and expressing and teaching, this is how we do it, because we start to connect our thoughts through similar knowledge and similar things. Like we're all processing the same information tonight as a group. That's powerful in its own essence.
And it's funny we're covering this now after me and Wayne did that last night about Planet X and things like that, because, and like he says, what is real?
Right. And then it comes back again in this reading. It's so
That's what I'm
amazing.
saying. It's an
It,
illusion.
and it's like, you're like, I try to get away from that. And then it just keeps coming back and coming back. And that's what brought you here. There's something to that. And Elsie was asking, do you think maybe these are the fallen? And it's like, I do think that the Anunnaki were potentially the giants that came to
I
Earth.
mean, are we the fallen?
I think we're products
We're
of.
direct descendants of.
Yeah, I think we're products of. Yeah, yeah. Mm-hmm.
So, well,
Yep.
cool. That last chapter was a little long. I was like,
Yeah,
oh
it
man, I'm
was.
getting tired here.
Let me see if there's anything else I missed in chat. I don't think so. I think we're
I
good.
appreciate each and every one of y'all being here. I truly hope you're enjoying this. And like I said, we're just getting started, folks. We're almost to the halfway point here. And this is just a precursor. When we get into this telepathy training, like I said, it's not going to be a show, but I don't know, with the turnout I'm getting with this, I may turn it into a show, because
I'm like, let's just do it together live. Let's see how it goes.
but
Yeah.
I mean, that's when we're really going to be working with. That's when there's going to be viewer participation. It's not just going to be chatting in the chat room. We're going to be putting some
It's going to
work in.
require some focus. Yeah, some focus. I think that would be great. Um, uh,
I love you too, Joanne.
Yeah, Sun says, has anybody been feeling high energy around you in the past day or so? Oh yeah, so many people are getting
Like I
hit
said,
right
I
now.
dance for an hour and a half before I come on this show.
Yeah.
So,
And
yeah.
lots of people right now, they're getting the ringing of the ears, the headache, a lot of that stuff right now. So yeah, sleep issues, a lot
I'm
of people are
itching
saying.
from head to toe. And I put
Yeah,
every
and
kind of
you know what
lotion known to mankind on me.
I think you need to take some Benadryl.
Yeah, I got some. That's good.
Yeah,
I never
take
thought
some
about that.
Benadryl before bed. But I think it's an energy thing. I think you're getting hit with the frequency, but I think it'll stop the itching. So Benadryl. I was thinking about that
Right.
earlier when you told me. I was like, all right, let me see if I get it again. And I heard it again, Benadryl.
Okay.
Yep.
So we're coming back tomorrow night then, right?
Sure. Yeah. Let's
All
do
right.
it. You guys enjoying this? I hope. I love this. I think this is fabulous information. I think this book was brilliantly written. It's super simple, concise, to the point, real life, real time examples that really help you integrate the information. I think it's brilliant. I love it.
And like I said, we're just getting started, folks.
Yeah.
So stay tuned. Hope you join us tomorrow night. Well, anything you got a final thought for us or anything?
Oh no, just this is the thing. We got to keep dreaming the good dream and finding ways to stay within our own power and connect to what we truly are, and knowing that, this human experience is just that. It's a human experience, but we're beyond the human experience. So I think
Absolutely.
connecting to that, we're going to have to be able to have a direct impact on this world and do some wonderful things together.
All I can say, folks, believe in yourself. Accept
Yeah.
no substitution. Accept no limitations. There are none. If you believe it, you can achieve it.
That is so true.
So
So thank
until
you guys.
tomorrow night, what is it we say?
Be the frequency you want to receive.
There you go. Have a good night, folks. I love you all.
Bye.